I was fully aware of Hazbin Hotel's successes when this show came out earlier this year, when it came to the 8 episodes. And I was mostly familiar with this franchise when it came to the 50k money situation by a YouTuber, which, less said about that the better. All the while that there was another show taking place in the same universe, Hell of a Boss. This franchise is a unique one to say the least, and possibly one of the better shows of this decade, but that's either me not looking into a lot of cartoons, or it's mainly the fact that streaming services are really disrespectful towards animation. Except for Prime Video, well, the 8 episodes of Hazbin Hotel is streaming, with this being an Amazon original. And judging of how they really show respect towards this by making it into a series after the success of the pilot, this is literally the closest way we're ever going to see a cartoon succeeding, even though that people have mixed opinions, and this fandom is obviously not the best fandom, but it's no surprise at this point. Getting into the first episode, Overture, Charlie tells the story about her father having creative ideals, but the elders of heaven denied because they're too dangerous. After getting a call from her father about meeting with the leader of Angel Army, Adam, she wants to present her own ideals similar to her father, while Vaggie and the others are preparing to make a commercial for Hazbin Hotel. This is a weird experience, and no, it's not because that this show is towards adults and not for children whatsoever. It's mainly the fact that even if I did watch the pilot of Hazbin Hotel, I would have been a little bit more confused, and looking into this episode blindly, it gave me the impression that with the execution of Hell people being much more superior over Angel people, mainly with them having feelings in comparison to Angel people who, after watching this entire episode, it showcases that they have no feelings and they're way better because they're Angel people while Charlie and the others are Hell people. At the very least, it really feels like that the world building itself and the characters and the songs that they sung really sums up a lot that they're really trying to experiment this show in a direction that can be successful, which it has, but for me personally, it's gonna be difficult for me to get used to most of the elements in the show, mainly the fact that with this being a highly different show, that doesn't automatically mean that I enjoy every single bit of it. Whenever I watch a show for the first time, which isn't saying much considering lately I haven't been doing that like I used to, it takes a while for me to understand while trying to find enjoyment out of it. Believe me, this show isn't the only show that I've had this problem, and watching this first episode from beginning to end, it has better pacing when it comes to the main plot and the subplot, but at the same time, when it comes to the qualities, I'm not really into them. Let's get into the most noticeable factor of Hazbin Hotel. It's a musical. There are 2 songs in this episode, Happy Day in Hell and Hell is Forever, and if anyone's going to mention that I'm a huge My Low Point Friendship is Magic mark, I barely revisit all the songs there and only remember a few and listen a few from that show, and when it comes to the quality of the 2 songs from this episode, they're good, but at the same time, I'm not into musicals. I'm aware that the songs have a huge factor when it comes to the backstory that Charlie mentioned earlier in the episode, and I have to admit that Happy Day in Hell is way more focused when it comes to how much passion was put into that song, but keep in mind, just because these songs factor a lot more than what I think doesn't automatically mean that I'm into musicals. Believe me, it's just difficult for me to get into musicals nowadays than how I was back in my Friendship is Magic days, which is weird to talk about, but believe me, it feels like every time I look at musicals in newer shows, it's not because that they can be better than Friendship is Magic. It's mainly the fact that I'm just not into musicals. Broadway is a different story, but when it comes to shows, when this show isn't meant to be Broadway, despite the fact that the full song is a Broadway song, it's really saying something that, despite the songs having a major factor, doesn't mean I'm into them that much. Especially when it comes to the Hell is Forever song. Well, it's mixed on the fact that in the side portion of Charlie, well, it's Broadway, while Adam is mostly hard rock or something. Granted, it could be something else, but it's mainly the opposite of the genre that Charlie sings. The only thing that one of these songs showed me is that in Hell is Forever, Adam, who is the leader of Angel Army, never listens to Charlie whatsoever and always sings that he is superior because there's a black and white difference. In all honesty, that's the only compliment I can give when it comes to these songs in general. But at the same time, that doesn't automatically mean that I enjoy the songs in general. Before I get into the main character of this show, let's get the subplot out of the way where Vaggie and the others are trying to do a Hazbin Hotel commercial. Every time I look at these scenes, it's supposed to be humorous when it comes to one of the characters having a different trait that sums up onto why doing the commercial is difficult, and the fact that the lack of communication from these characters actually work in a setting like this. But judging of how this is the type of comedy that this show is providing, I'm not really into this type of comedy. I mean, it's not bad, but at the same time, I'm just not into it. This subplot will continue in later episodes when it comes to increasing the recognition of Hazbin Hotel, but every time I look at this subplot, all I can think of is Alistair being himself when it comes to running the hotel, all the while thinking of what's really right, which is the same way as the Angels, but keep in mind, with him being a hell person character, his way of thinking is mainly him being selfish, which sums up a lot that every single character, including in Hazbin Hotel, are selfish towards each other. Well, except Charlie and Vaggie. With these characters having their own focus development in later episodes, it depends on what I feel once I get to those episodes, because keep in mind, I may find satisfaction from their developments, but at the same time, it could be the opposite. Jumping into the main protagonist of this show, Charlie, I have to admit that her backstory involving her father is unique, and her way of just trying to make things right for herself and the people in Hazbin Hotel is one thing, I'll admit that. And out of all the characters in this episode, she gets the most developed when it comes to the story that she narrated earlier in the episode and the song that she's saying, Happy Day in Hell, but at the same time, it's still difficult for me to see more likability involving her character, knowing full well that with this being the first episode, it's only a matter of time for the following episodes to make this episode age better. Believe me, whenever I say age better when it comes to one episode that was released along with the following episodes released in the following weeks, it's mainly of how the later episodes can make a better execution by improving the execution from the first episode. This show is still new, and even after I watch the following 7 episodes, there's still going to be more seasons from this that is going to improve on the characters themselves. So, for how I witnessed Charlie's development throughout this entire episode, it really feels like she is the most odd one, considering that she is the most joyful than the other characters. Granted, that's the charm that people may enjoy from this show, even if there may be other factors. But keep in mind, this type of development, especially in the show while swearing and other stuff is happening, it's gonna be a difficult task for me to actually find some enjoyment out of it. Believe me, if another show did this formula, it would not only be plagiarism, but I will admit that it won't be an improvement over this. I will admit that Charlie's character is the saving grace when it comes to the positives that I have, and when it comes to the minor positive, I will admit that the animation is really good. When it comes to the contrast towards red, which you're going to be seeing a lot throughout the following episodes, it's really stylized when it comes to the backgrounds. I actually enjoy all of the character designs, even though that I do not like the personalities completely. I really feel like that the character designs of nearly every single character in this show can really give out the impressions and uniqueness of Hazbin Hotel. This clip, well, Charlie was this close to be in her demon form, is something I'm actually looking forward to in the following episodes, especially since that the clips that I've seen that weren't in her demon form, well, that close of getting close to her demon form, it's literally the closest way I'm ever going to find humor and mostly satisfaction when it comes to the facial expressions and how the characters are mostly being put into situations that can easily be an indicator of what's going to happen in the future, all the while that the characters being rude towards each other would be more of an understatement of what the angels are mostly capable of. I mean, just by witnessing the ending of this episode sums up a lot that they're a lot more worse than demons or hell people, because this sums up a lot that Adam is gonna be a very menacing antagonist for what he and the other characters are gonna be doing in the world of hell. If there's anything that this show is gonna surprise me, is the fact that the angel army is gonna be a lot more hellish in comparison to the demons. If that isn't gonna teach me or show me of what the angel army is capable of, then I don't know what is. That's probably the only thing that I'm looking forward to when it comes to this show in later episodes. Those were my critiques and impressions of the first episodes of Hazbin Hotel. I have a few things that I'm looking forward to, but everything else is still a mixed bag. Keep in mind, when it comes to the following episodes, there's a chance that I might review one of them, but especially since that summer is gonna be an obvious busy season for me, it's gonna be difficult to look into depth into Hazbin's Hotel's qualities, but at the same time there are also negatives. And when it comes to the adult jokes and content in this episode, it wasn't easy for me to find safe screenshots from this episode, but it's something that I'm gonna have to get used to if I'm ever going to review another episode, while also showing further context if they actually play a role in the following episodes. Who knows? I could be a fan of Hazbin Hotel by chance, but at the same time, I could not. But we'll just wait and see. I'm giving this episode a 7 out of 10.